Welcome back to Inside Politics. Our guest today is Megan Berry. She's a candidate for mayor. Megan, early voting has started. It often represents anywhere from 40 to 60% of the vote. Are you concerned in terms of the undecided vote that a lot of people haven't made up their minds so they won't vote early? Maybe that number won't be 40 or 60% this time?
I actually think that people do go vote early because, I mean, thankfully we made it at least as easy and convenient as we could as we have in the past with the Election Commission initially not coming out to have all the early voting sites. I was happy that we were able as a council to make sure that happened.
Now with all these undecided voters, it seems to put pressure on all the candidates to really go for their ground game. I mean,
right.
We talk about the polls, we talk about TV ads, all these other things. None of it matters if you don't get your voter to the polls. So
That's
what are you doing to get your voter out?
Well, we have an incredibly active field campaign that is specifically targeted for GOTV, and I'm sure your viewers know this, but every night we pull the data. So we are looking at who is showing up to vote, and if you show up and vote, you're taken off the list. So
if you're not,
if you're not, we're going to keep talking to you.
Now, in the last few days, we've seen the entrance for the first time I can remember in a local mayor's race of an out-of-state political PAC to come in there.
Yeah.
You've been critical of that.
I have been critical. I think Nashvillians want to choose their mayor, and they want to do it based on the information that's being delivered here. I'm not crazy about a out-of-state super PAC.
But what this PAC is doing is not illegal. It's not wrong.
No.
I mean, they have the right to do that.
Well, you know what, Pat? My whole life experience with my ethics and compliance, sometimes the law is just the floor. Sometimes you go above the law.
David Fox is the candidate we're talking about who's getting the support from the out-of-state PAC. He says he has no idea, didn't even know it was going on until the media asked him about it. Do you believe that?
Well, I want to take David at his word.
So you don't think that there's any kind of coordination going on, even though David Fox has now started an ad that's very similar in tone and content in terms of the city spending too much money downtown and on capital projects.
Well, if they were coordinating, that would be illegal. So, like I said, I want to take David at his word.
What do you think about sending out an ad in Davidson County, which is very democratic, basically identifying a candidate as the most conservative, read Republican kind of candidate?
Well, it's interesting. We are a nonpartisan election. I mean, clearly people ask you all the time when you're running, you know, what party do you belong to? But I think one of the hallmarks of the Metro Council and being able to be on that nonpartisan body is that you serve everybody.
Now, you and all the candidates have been pretty significantly outspent by Bill Freeman. Whoever gets in the runoff with him will have that same situation probably. How do you compete to get the message out when you run against an opponent that has unlimited resources? Well,
you do it in a very smart way, and I mean, what we've tried to do is use our resources to allocate where we think we need to. You have to remember, I come at this with a base. So I've run twice and won twice countywide. So I've done this before.
Well, what are you doing to expand that base? And people see your base, but they say, is that base A, big enough to get you in the runoff, and B, then get you elected?
Well, I don't know, Pat. 50,000, close to 50,000 people voted for me last time. So, I mean, I think that's a...
But in a race that you could vote for 5 people.
Well, that's right.
It's hardly a one-on-one race.
Well, exactly. But I will tell you, at least they pushed the button for me before.
So how do you hold off and beat people, assuming you're going to be maybe second in this race? That seems where you are in a lot of the polls. How do you beat a David Fox? How do you edge him out to get in that second?
Well, I think that it's going to be with message. I mean, I think voters want someone who's going to bring experience, who understands government and business, and who is also not David Fox.
Howard Gentry brings lots of experience. Do you have a different message for how you are better for him to vote?
I would tell you that what I do bring that is different than Howard is that I also bring that deep understanding of business with my MBA and having had significant leadership experience in corporations.
Charles Robert Bode has been very active, raised a lot of money, had a lot of television ads. What's your message to counteract him?
Well, we are on TV too. So, I mean, I think, you know, my message is very different than Charles Roberts.
And how is it different?
I came at this from a neighborhood perspective. You know, that's how I got my start. So neighborhoods and PTO experience, that's what people who are local and look at local government care about. Now,
again, we talked about this a little bit before. If you make the runoff, you'll be at a disadvantage financially with Mr. Freeman, assuming he's the other person in the runoff. Is that going to be a particular problem when you first get started? Because he can write a check and have lots of money. You've got to go back out and raise the money separately because they do not allow you to raise money for the runoff until you're actually in the runoff.
Right. Well,
how crazy are those first days going to be?
They're going to be crazy. But that's okay. I mean, we have a plan already in place to actively go after those dollars that we're going to need, and we're ready.
Now, earlier in the campaign, I think at one of the many forums that were held, you told a story that a local businessman, and you were at lunch, and after you got through with the conversation, he said, well, I guess you're just not another dumb blonde. Have you had that conversation often on the campaign trail?
Well, I mean, I've definitely had it occasionally.
So are Nashville voters ready for a woman to be mayor?
I think they are, Pat.
Have you polled that? What has it shown you? I mean, is that a question that you polled?
Maybe.
And it said what?
I'm in a great position to be the next mayor.
Now, there is a second woman in the race, Linda Eskin-Rebevic, who's been here with us. Is having two in the race hurting either one of you in terms of getting votes?
No, I mean, we're very different. And so again, I think that just because I'm a woman, people make choices about their candidates on all different levels. They're going to choose me for a whole lot of reasons.
I've heard this often. I don't know if it's true. I'll ask you, is it harder to get a man to vote for a woman or harder for a woman to vote for a woman? I've heard it's hard to get a woman to vote for a woman.
Well, you know, I think, based on the response that we're getting of both men and women who are supporting my campaign, I think we're doing just fine.
You've received the endorsement from the Tennessean. I know that's a happy situation for
yes.
you. Media endorsements don't carry the clout that they used to. So what will this endorsement mean for your campaign?
Well, I mean, I think what it shows voters is that the Tennessean was very deliberate, and they took a long time to make this decision. And they put us through a lot of paces and hoops. And so coming out on the other side, I think that the voters will respect that a lot of research has gone into this, and they've made a good decision.
Were they so deliberate they talked more about the first part of their editorial about the people they didn't endorse than talk about you? Did you wish the nice things they said about you had been a little higher up in that editorial?
You know, look, the picture was huge, so it was all good.
How do you respond to the editorial that also, the endorsement that also said that there was another column by their columnist that said, well, we love all these candidates? I mean, did you kind of feel like you got a little undercut on that?
No, not at all. I mean, I understand that the Tennessean has, perspective, and they made it very clear on their editorial page that they chose my campaign.
Megan Berry, thank you for coming. If you make the runoff, we'll have you back maybe the day after, and then certainly during the runoff campaign.
I will look forward to it.
And thank you for joining us on Inside Politics. Hope you're back here again for a future show. If you can't get enough politics in the meantime, go to this Final Fun website. You'll find my Capital Review commentary there. New commentary posted every Friday afternoon. Next week, we'll have Carl Dean, the man who owns the mayor's job, right here. He'll be with us. Join us then. See you next time. Goodbye.